Do you know yet, does anyone know exactly who was responsible for this assassination attempt? There was one report that said that you had arranged to send President Musharraf a letter to be sent in the event of your death by assassination, urging him to investigate certain individuals in his government. Is that true?
Yes, it is true that I wrote to General Musharraf. I received information from General Musharraf that a friendly country had passed on to them the information that I could be attacked by a gang from the Afghan warlord Baitullah Masood, or by Hamza bin Laden, the son of Osama bin Laden, or by the Pakistani Taliban in Islamabad, or by a group in Karachi. So I sent back a letter saying that while these groups may be used, I thought it was more important to go after the people who supported them, who organized them, who could possibly be the financiers or the organizers of the finance for those groups. And I named 3 individuals who I thought were their sympathizers. Now I understand that I could be wrong and my suspicions could be misplaced, but these are the people that I suspect want to stop the restoration of democracy. They want to stop my return because they know in 1993, when Pakistan was on the brink of being declared a terrorist state, I stopped the rise of terrorism, and they know that I can do it again. So I feel that these are the forces that really want to stop not just me, but the democratic process and the will of the people from triumphing.
And in terms of these 3 people that you mentioned, were they members of or associated with the government?
Yes, well, one of them is a very key figure in security. He's a former military officer. He is someone that has had dealings with Jaish-e-Mohammed, one of the banned groups, with Maulana Azhar, who was in an Indian jail for decapitating 3 British tourists and 3 American tourists. And he also had dealings with Omar Sheikh, the man who murdered Osama bin Laden. Now I know that having dealings with people does not necessarily mean direct evidence, but I also know that internal security has totally collapsed in Pakistan, and that internal security cannot collapse without there being some blind eye, if not collusion, being turned to the rise of the militants and militancy. Not only are our tribal areas out of our control, but even the beautiful valley of Swat is now under takeover by Islamists. So I would like to see a Pak-led police inquiry assisted by Scotland Yard or the FBI come in, use their forensic and scientific explanation to find out not only the perpetrators, but the financiers and the organizers of this heinous crime that killed 158 innocent people.
And in terms of that terrible tragedy, have you actually spoken to President Musharraf since that?
Yes, I have. He was very gracious. He had the Director General Inter-Services Intelligence ring me up the first evening to condemn the incident that had taken place. And he phoned me the next morning and he said that he and Prime Minister Aziz had been watching my reception from the beginning and were very sorry about the unfortunate blast that had taken place. And also he condemned the blast, he grieved with the families, he expressed his sorrow, but he was a bit worried that my party naming a security official could hamper that rapprochement process. And I assured him that it was not my intention to hamper the rapprochement process. I did want to see a peaceful transition to democracy through fair, free and impartial elections, but I also felt that it was important, A, to have an independent inquiry that gave me confidence, and B, to have impartial, politically neutral people in key positions in government in the caretaker or transitory period.
You still feel that you can do business with President Musharraf? That hasn't been affected by this tragedy. The 2 of you could still work together?
Well, David, I think we need to see this in ongoing negotiations. We both have the desire to work together, but while we have the principle sorted out, we really need to sort out the modalities. Because I'm asking myself, how a PPP government, if the people of Pakistan elect us, can actually cope if we cannot have officials in our internal security who we feel have no links to militants and to their supporters. I'm just wondering that if I was the target of a horrific terrorist attack in which 158 people died, and I can't even file a police complaint because the government doesn't allow me to file it, then, well, would this rapprochement mean an effective transition, or would it mean a continuation of the status quo? I'm interested in an effective transition, and I'm willing to explore with General Musharraf the modalities in which that we can have such a transition. But I'm not willing to be the icing on the cake if it's a poisoned cake full of the kind of system that in the last 5 years has seen terrorism rise, not just in Pakistan, but its effects in nearby Afghanistan, on NATO troops, and even beyond in Europe.
And in terms of what happens next, has there been any progress in terms of the thing about you being allowed to have, or anybody being allowed to have 3 terms in Pakistan as Prime Minister?
Well, I have discussed with my party members what has been confidentially assured to us, but they know that we expect a resolution of this issue at the opportune time. But what I'm really interested right now is an investigation, a Pakistan police investigation assisted by the international community with the forensic skills to unmask the perpetrators, organizers, financiers, and sponsors of this act of terrorism. I'm not saying this just because it was an attack on me. The locality where the chairman Joint Chiefs of Army Staffs lives was attacked 2 days back. An Air Force bus was attacked yesterday. People in marketplaces are killed. And unless we get to the financiers and the perpetrators and organizers, we're not going to be able to frighten them into accepting responsibility for their crimes. They don't accept. They kill people and they think they won't even have to go to jail. They won't have to answer before a judge, and that's wrong.
And what about the situation, what if the Supreme Court say that the election of President Musharraf was valid, but he still kept wearing his army uniform? Would that be a problem for you?
Well, General Musharraf and I discussed this issue during our negotiations, and it was decided that we would accept the decision of the Supreme Court of Pakistan, and I'm on public as saying this before my return to Pakistan, that as far as the Pakistan People's Party is concerned, we are not going to resign from the assemblies in protest over General Musharraf's re-election as president. We have a different view on its legality, but we're going to leave it to the Supreme Court of Pakistan to decide. So we're going to back the Supreme Court in whatever judgment it decides to give on the issue of General Musharraf's legality. We expect that the Supreme Court will probably allow him to continue, but ask him to retire as army chief and seek a reaffirmation vote from the next assembly.
So, and if he kept wearing the army uniform, that would be a problem for you and the Supreme Court, perhaps?
Yes. Yes, it would be a problem for me, for the Supreme Court of Pakistan. It would probably demoralize the armed forces who haven't had a serving army chief since October 1999, and it would certainly not be acceptable to the people of Pakistan. Now, General Musharraf has assured me that he would retire as Chief of Army Staff, and he said this to the Supreme Court too in an open declaration that he would take his oath as President for a second time without the uniform. So let's see what happens.
How is the Pakistan you now see different from the Pakistan you left 8 years ago?
Well, part of the Pakistan that I know was very much there. The 3 million people who turned out to greet me at Karachi airport were dancing, they were singing, they were celebrating, they were full of joy. There were young people, there were taxi drivers and rickshaw drivers and daily wage earners. They were the working classes, the laborers, the peasants, and they all came to demonstrate their support in democracy and their support to the forces of moderation. And then the tragedy struck, but it struck through the militants who are a minority, a small minority who want to use the bullet to capture my country, and they mustn't be allowed to do so. And even though there has been turmoil and tragedy, I am confident that if we can restore the democratic process, we can restore tranquility, security to our people, provide them with the employment and the education that are the best guarantees of a tolerant society.
Benazir, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a real privilege to talk and to hear the situation exactly as you see it. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, David.
Benazir Bhutto. More in a moment from Frost Over the World.